Hello, I'm Coach Hurd, and thank you for listening to the Word from Coach Hurd. Well, you already know I'm going to give you real talk biblical lessons. Today's lesson is going to come from Matthew chapter 5, verse 45. Matthew chapter 5, verse 45. And Jesus said, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Lord have mercy. The title of today's lesson is The Successful but Unprofessional. The Successful but Unprofessional. Now, we have a couple of things that's going on in this scripture here. And here's something that we have to understand. Oftentimes, we look at a person wins or a CEO's financial gains for his company, and we think and attribute to that person that that's a good person. And a lot of times that's not the case. You can have a winning record as a coach and not really be a good steward of that organization. You can have great financials as a CEO of your company and not really be a great steward of that company. What you talking about, Coach? I'm talking about accountability. You see, that is something that's often lacking that I've seen over the many years that I've been in the workplace. I've seen people have great success on the football field. I've seen people have great success um, in track and field, basketball, baseball, whatever the sport they may be. I've seen executives have great success in their companies, bringing in tons of money and revenue for their companies. But when I look at these people, what I also see is some very unprofessional people. What you talking about, Coach Hurd? I'm so glad that you asked. Let me give you an example. I see in the workplace, for example, a person goes up to another person in public and say ungodly things in public to that person or about that person. And sometimes in front of kids. Yet, if you look at that person's record on the court, they're very successful. If you look at that person's record in the company, they're very successful. But the question is, do you want that person leading you? Or better yet, do you want that person leading your kids? Because see, what that teaches your kids and teaches people in the workplace when you have unprofessional people like that is that it is okay by any means necessary. I'm going to be successful according to wins. I'm going to be successful according to financial gains by any means necessary. I say it's the start of anarchy. Do you really want that type of person leading you? And do you really want that type of person leading your kids? And what you'll find with those type of people, although they are successful in wins, although they are successful in financial gains, is that they lack accountability. You'll hear terms like, well, it's working, it's worked up to this point. What has worked? Your behavior? Is that what you're saying has worked? And you have to look at these things carefully, people, because you'll easily find what type of person that is in the workplace, because what you'll find is they begin to recruit other people, manipulate other people to believe what they're doing is correct to justify their wrong behavior. Unprofessionalism in the workplace. The successful person in wins, but an unprofessional person. The successful person in financial gains, but an unprofessional person in the company. God said he reigns on the just as well as the unjust. And that's what you have to keep in mind. Just because a person has a lot of wins, just because a person has a lot of financial gain, does not make that person good. And what we have to look at from even an overarching point of view, do we enable that type of behavior within our companies, within our organizations? I had a coach told me long time ago, watch it now. I witnessed a coach let's go off on another coach. They were in private, but I was just walking by. And I was like, I told the head coach, and he said, they was in private, Coach Hurd. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Wow. Okay. So it's wrong if he would have went off on that coach in public, but it's okay for him to go off on that coach in private. And I looked at that head coach and I told him, I said, I don't mean no disrespect, but that's illogical. That's illogical. It is never okay for another person to use, number one, some ungodly language to another person. In other words, he cussed him out. That's not okay. That's never okay, whether they're in public or private. We teach in my lead worthy class, you have your public self and you have your private self. And what we have to do is close the gap between those two people. Close the gap in the right way between those two people. I think about the Roman Empire and I look at leadership and I say, when you allow people to be unprofessional in your organization and you do not hold them accountable, sooner or later, no matter how successful your organization has been, it will implode. That organization is going to fall. It's going to dissolve because there's a lack of leadership, and that leadership is enabling unprofessional behavior. So I'm done with this. One, you can't look at wins, you can't look at financial gain and say that's a good person. No, sir. God reigns on the just as well as the unjust. And if you're in a position of stewardship, if you're in a position of leadership of your organization, you can enable unprofessionalism. You have to nip that in the bud, like fast and quick. Otherwise, you're going to fall just like Rome. Hey, I'm Coach Hurd. I'm done with this. Thank you for tuning in and listening to me, and I'll catch you the next time. Peace.